Battle Styles is the punchline of Sword and Shield. It's the set that people roast. It's the one that everyone skipped. It's the one that you'd only open on accident. And that is exactly why, in terms of investing, Battle Styles is worth talking about. Battle Styles became the joke early. Single Strike and Rapid Strike, they just didn't land. There was no evolutions. There was pretty much no good Pokemon in the set. There was no good lottery energy going to it. You didn't feel like you were going to hit things. The hobby moved on fast. And once a set gets labeled boring, it rarely gets rechecked or revisited. That label stuck. But labels don't determine value. Markets do. Cards do. Every single era has its whipping boy, a set that absorbs all of the disappointment. Essentially, Battle Styles became the pain sponge of the Sword and Shield era. These could be seen in other sets like Steam Siege in the past or Crimson Invasion, while Battle Styles took on that role for Sword and Shield. And when that happens, something fairly predictable follows. People just don't want to open it. Interest disappears. There's no real demand for sealed. They stop printing it, and everything just kind of peters off. But that's not the payoff phase in terms of investing. That's the setup. But here's the weird and a bit uncomfortable part when you think about this set compared with other Sword and Shield products that you probably think are quite nice. Bear with me a second. I actually just need to pack up these slabs that I've sold. I sold a Astral Radiance PSA 10, that's that Beedrill that's at the front, and I also sold a modern Journey Together Articuno. Beautiful slab that. I'll package those up while I ramble on. Oh, the uncomfortable part about Battle Styles is that it has a higher total set value than Sword and Shield base and several other Sword and Shield releases. It has a similar set value to Astral Radiance, actually, and it has a higher set value than two other sets. So Sword and Shield base really does get heaps of nostalgia credit because it was the first part of the new era. Battle Styles, even though it's worth more and the cards in that set are worth more money, gets punished for just being dull. Collectors, quite rightly, talk about vibes. They talk about the experience. They talk about how it feels to open up the product. The markets just really care about math. And the math says Battle Styles is not an empty vessel. There is value within Battle Styles. It has more depth than you think. This set has real chase cards, not hype chases, just like structurally good, solid chases. Oh, by the way, when you are shipping, always ship in cardboard boxes. That's a me thing. And if you're happy shipping in padded mailers, that's totally fine. But a padded mailer inside a cardboard box will withstand even the most annoyed post office worker who's having a very bad day. A stray boot or things getting flung around, you don't want your beautiful, beautiful slab to be damaged before it gets to the person who also loves the slab. Excellent. Oh, back to the topic of the day, though, Battle Styles. The Sleeping Tyranitar alt art is one of the strongest modern Pokemon artworks. Okay, that's hard to say with a straight face, but it is a really, really, really nice Pokemon artwork. It's a sleeping artwork, and we know that that has inherent value. There are other sleeping Pokemon that people like. Tyranitar, while it might not be my favorite Pokemon, and it has a variety of different depictions and art styles, so it's really hard to consistently like Tyranitar and be attached to a particular depiction of it, because it does change a fair bit, but it still is a really popular Pokemon in both English and in Japanese. It's an iconic Pokemon. The card design itself, it's subtle, it's confident, and it is the kind of card that ages well rather than spikes fast. Another one would be the Empoleon. It's a really nice card, like an absurdly nice card for the era. Given that it was one of the first sets that had the alt arts in it, or the arts of this type, arts like the Empoleon or the Tyranitar, they're not loud, they're not trendy, but they're really premium. They're respectable, and these cards anchor the set whether people like it or not. Collectors will always look back to try and fill out these arts in terms of raws, and if you look at the PSA submissions, if you get a crispy copy of either of those cards, you're absolutely submitting it because it's an absolute belter of a card. And look, I will be a realist. Those cards are really wonderful, but it's not like they're a Gengar chase that's going to be worth a lot of money because people go nuts for Gengar, or even Pikachu for that matter, or these type of cards like that Crown Zenith Pikachu that has multiple Pokemon in it. It doesn't really have cool things like that, but the sleeping Pokemon concept, the sleeping Pokemon are still very popular, and that will help retain value. Battle Styles was not opened relentlessly. Once the reception soured, the ripping slowed fast, and that limits some of the grading plays that people have made already. So there's fairly low populations for those high-end cards as well. It does mean that there's probably more sealed hiding somewhere. Realistically, this is not a top tier Sword and Shield set. This is no Evolving Skies. This is no Lost Origin. It's not even Brilliant Stars. But it doesn't need to be. It needs to be judged for what it actually is. Battle Styles isn't special. It isn't flashy. To be honest with you, it's barely even fun to open. But value doesn't come from excitement. Value comes from mispricing. Battle Styles doesn't need love to perform incredibly well as an investment. It just needs to stop being ignored. That's why I think Battle Styles is a really surprisingly decent pickup. I'm not selling the house to buy 400 different Battle Styles booster boxes, but I've happily picked this one up, and I'll grab any more that I can get at this low price before it pops up.